ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ ප්‍රථම වරට SLT 4G වෙතින් දැන් Pure TV නරඹන්න. ඉදිරියටම ගෙන යන SLT 4G.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, step up or step away. President Gotabaya tells state banks to pull their weight in government relief efforts or face the music. Belt and Road. US envoy says it's time for Sri Lanka to move away from infrastructure-based development plans in virus-hit global economy.
Infrastructure-led growth is probably not going to deliver right now because there's so little fiscal space for the government of Sri Lanka.
Double standards. Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna calls for explanation on dual citizenship issue with the Independent Election Commission. Good times. Sri Lanka's recovery rate reaches its highest levels as most sectors return to normalcy. All this and much more coming up on this Monday, the 15th of June 2020.
Nava Sunlight Sakura. Then Dikukal Pavatina Sakura Mal Suandin.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Shanella Fernando in your top stories for tonight. US Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Elena B. Teplitz, says that the only comprehensive economic development plan Sri Lanka needs is one of its own making, given the massive disruptions to the world economy from the COVID-19 pandemic. Further, the ambassador stated that the country should look to its private sector to spearhead economic development instead of infrastructure-led growth such as China's Belt and Road Initiative, which will not deliver in the short term due to a lack of fiscal space. The US envoy made this statement in a response to a question raised on the US alternative to China's Belt and Road Initiative during an online roundtable media discussion today.
So I hope that the only comprehensive economic development plan for Sri Lanka is Sri Lanka's plan for itself. And I hope there is one. As I mentioned in my opening statement, the economic future of this country, like many, is now a little bit in question, given the enormous disruptions of the pandemic. It is definitely a time that calls for having a comprehensive plan going forward. There have been numerous reports, pathfinders, and commentary about this. I think that it is a ripe moment for planning in that sense, and that the government needs to look comprehensively at some of the policy reforms and at the ease of doing business if it's going to be in a position to attract foreign investment and take advantage of some of the supply chain changes that are going to come, I think, in the future as many countries and companies seek to de-risk their investments from China, where they're looking to, make sure they have some diversification and location and redundancy in that supply chain. So it's an opportune moment. Does the United States have an alternative? That's not exactly how I would look at the issue. The United States wishes to engage with Sri Lanka, as we do the world over, to ensure that there's free trade and that both of our countries are in a position to best enable our private sectors. It's really going to take the private sector engaging, finding those innovations and investment opportunities. That's going to change the equation, I think, for a place like Sri Lanka. So what we're looking at is more of a philosophical approach, and we're going to continue to put resources, both technical and financial, into those spaces because we think that's how a sustainable economy is developed. I will note, just as a concluding point, interestingly, in that Financial Times piece this morning, and that is that infrastructure-led growth is probably not going to deliver right now because there's so little fiscal space for the government of Sri Lanka, and that looking at, as I said, manufacturing, other ways to grow the economy is the way to lead into some of the other needed infrastructure development.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa today expressed disappointment over the country's state banking system while raising concerns over the delay in responding to a crisis situation. During a meeting to review the operations of the Bank of Ceylon, the head of state called state banks to step up and think out of the box and contribute to the economic revival of the country.
හැම මීටින් එකක් තිබ්බම ප්ලාන්ටේෂන් සෙක්ටර් එක ගෙනාවත් බස් කට්ටිය ගෙනාවත් හැමෝම කියන්නේ කිසිම සහයෝගයක් නැහැ බැංකුව වලින් කියලා. බැංක් ඔෆ් සිලෝන් එක තමයි මූලිකවම අපි කියලා තියෙන policies අපිටත් ඉස්සෙල්ලා ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න ඕන බැංකුව. දැන් මතක තියාගන්න ඕන මම දන්නවනේ මේ බැංකුව වල මම කාටවත් කියන්නේ මගේ කැචර්ලට ලෝන්ස් දෙන්න. මගේ ඥාතීන්ට ලෝන්ස් දෙන්න. දේශපාලඥයන්ට ලෝන්ස් දෙන්න කියන එක නෙවෙයි මම මේ කියන්නේ. මම මේ කියන්නේ මහ ජනතාවට මේක දෙන්න. ඉතින් මට තේරෙන්නේ ඇයි මේක කරන්න බැරි කියලා. දැන් අපි අර 104 පොලියට දෙන්න තියෙන කියන එකටත් ඒක හම්බ වෙන්නේ අවශ්‍යතාවයේ හැටියට තීරුම් අරගෙන මේක කරන්න ඕන. මේකේ පුද්ගලික ප්‍රශ්න ජෙනරල් මැනේජර් අපොයින්ට් කරපු එකට විරුද්ධව ඉන්න AGM ලගේ ඒවා මට වැඩක් නැහැ. ඒවා තියෙනවා නම් ඔක්කොම හක් කළා දාන්න. ඔක්කොම හක් කළා පිටින් ගෙනල්ලා දැම්මත් මට ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. මට ඕන මේකේ වැඩේ වෙන්න. මම මේ කරන්නේ රට වෙනුවෙන්. මහජනතාව වෙනුවෙන්. මගේ ඥාතීන්ට සල්ලි දෙන්න කියලා නෙවෙයි. මම කියලා තියෙනවද ඔයාට කවදාවත්? මම කියන්නේ වැටිච්ච ඉකොනොමික අපි මේ පරණ විදියටම ගෙනින්න බෑ. අපි ඉදිරියට ගෙනියන්න පුළුවන් තරම් ක්‍රමවේද හොයන්න වෙනවා. ඒක හෙමින් කළා බෑ. ඔයගොල්ලෝ දන්නෝනේ. ඔයගොල්ලෝ ඉතින් බැංකර්ස්ලා මට කියන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. මේ අද තියෙන සිටුේෂන් එක ලෝකේ කවදාකවත් ඇවිල්ලා නැහැ. ඉතින් මේ සිටුේෂන් එකෙන් එළියට එන්න අපි හැමදේනම මේ out of the box system අලුත් ක්‍රම හොයන්න වෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒකට කිසි උත්සාහයක් නැත්තම් බැංකුව වලින් දෙන්නේ මේක ඉස්සරහට ගෙනියන්න බෑ. ඉතින් මේ සිටුේෂන් එකෙන් ඉස්සරහට යන්න නම් ඔයගොල්ලෝ ඒ ගැන හිතන්න ඕනේ. හිතලා ඒකට කරන්න ඕනේ මේ විදියට.
Chairman of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna expressed amazement over the presence of a dual citizen as a member of the Election Commission when the Constitution prevents dual citizens from contesting an election. His remarks came at a media briefing held at the party headquarters in Colombo today.
ආණ්ඩුක්‍රම ව්‍යවස්ථාව යටතේ තිබෙන නීති තත්ත්වය තමයි ද්විත්ව පුරවැසිකමක් තියෙන පුද්ගලයෙකුට මැතිවරණය තරම් කරන්න බෑ. හැබැයි පුදුම සහගත තත්ත්වය තමයි සම්පූර්ණ මැතිවරණය සංවිධානය කරන. ඒ පිළිබඳ සමස්ත වගකීම බාර ගන්නා ජාතික මැතිවරණ කොමිෂන් සභාවේ සමාජිකයෙක් හැටියට කටයුතු කරන්න පුළුවන් ද්විත්ව පුරවැසි. ඉතින් මේක පරස්පර නැද්ද? අපේ පක්ෂයේ මහලේකම් සාගර කාර්යවසම් මැතිතුමා ලිඛිතව පැමිණිල්ලක් මැතිවරණ කොමිෂන් සභාවට ඉදිරිපත් කළා. අද වෙනතුරු ඒකට පිළිතුරක් නැහැ. මේ ਸਰව බලධාරී මේ රටේ ඡන්දදායකයන්ට කියනවා ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොදුජන පෙරමුණට ඡන්දය දෙන්න එපා කියලා. ඒ මම වගකීමෙන් කියනවා හූල් මහත්තයා මේ ප්‍රකාශය කළා. කොහොමද සාධාරණ නිදහස් මැතිවරණයක් පවත්වන්නේ? ජාතික මැතිවරණ කොමිෂන් සභාව ප්‍රකාශයක් කළා. මැතිවරණය පැවැත්වීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් තීරණ ගන්න ඉස්සෙල්ලා කොළ එළියක් ලබා ගන්න ඕනේ කියලා ලෝක සෞඛ්‍ය සංවිධානය. තාමත් භයානක පූර්වාදර්ශයක්. මේ රටේ අපි තව දේවල් විදේශීය ආයතන වලට පවරා දීම කිසිසේත් හොඳ දෙයක් නෙවෙයි. මේ ඔක්කොම වෙනස් කරන්න ඕනේ. එම නිසා දැන්වත් මැතිවරණ කටයුතු සම්බන්ධ වැඩ මීට වඩා විවෘත ලෙස සාධාරණ ලෙස මැතිවරණ කොමිෂන් සභාව විසින් කෙරෙයි කියලා අපේ බලාපොරොත්තුවක් විශ්වාසයක් තිබෙනවා. මේ ස්වාධීනයි කියන සියලුම කොමිෂන් සභා නිර්මාණය කරන්නේ ඒවා ස්ථාපිත කරන්නේ ව්‍යවස්ථා කවුන්සිලය. ගැසට් කළා ඒ ගැසට් පත්‍රය පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට ඉදිරිපත් කරනවා. පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ අනුමැතිය ලබා ගන්නවා. මේ එකක්වත් අද වනතුරු කෙරිලා නැහැ. අභිනව පාර්ලිමේන්තුවක් පත් වුණායින් පස්සේ මේක ප්‍රමුඛ කාර්යයක් වනවා ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ මහතුමාගේ අභිනව රජයට. මේ ඔක්කොම හරියස්සන්න ඕනේ. මේවා පිරිසිදු කරන්න ඕනේ. මේක අවුල් ජාලා.
Former Prime Minister and the leader of the United National Party, Ranil Wickremesinghe, has stated that the party's young representatives should win the confidence of the country's youth that has been lost due to the current political system. He made these comments while addressing the representatives of the Green Blood Group at the party headquarters. A meeting between representatives of the UNP's Green Blood Group and the leader of the United National Party, Ranil Wickremesinghe, worked off yesterday at the party headquarters in Sirikota.
There's a public talk about next generation leaders. How do you wish to develop next generation leaders from UNP for the country, and what are your plans for that?
The next generation has lost faith in the political system of Sri Lanka. A few months back, they want to dump all 225 of us in the Derana. So that's the start. They are looking for something new that will work. So firstly is we are giving you a choice of candidates. There are new faces and old faces. If you don't like old face, keep it out and go for the new faces. There are green blood candidates. But that is not enough. There has to be more to be done, and we are coming out to win back the confidence of the young people, and they must tell us what we have to do. We did a lot, but that was not enough. There were still allegations of corruption, breach of the rule of law. So we want to do that, and I'll be addressing those issues, but you can help me. The new group must come, they must take over, but they can't be conventional politicians.
The UNP leader also touched on suggestions to overcome the challenges the country is facing with regard to unemployment.
In Sri Lanka, the unemployment is going to increase. At least 100,000 will leave the apparel sector. At least about 300,000 to 400,000 out directly and indirectly in the tourist sector. So first is we have to protect the institutions and give some form of livelihood to the people who are at the moment losing employment. To do so, we have to find the money. Today the government hasn't got the money. So firstly, we have to revitalized the economy, put out the plan immediately, get assistance from outside. There are so many funding institutions, mainly the IMF, but others. Once IMF okays, other countries will start giving us money to tide over this year and next year. Then start restructuring and immediately push our existing industries and services. But we still have a problem because people from abroad, employment will also be returning. My one is we must revitalize the economy, go out like Japan and Thailand and other Buddhist countries which are completely free market, show the people that we can grow after this crisis, get them back. Of course, we handled this in 2001. When the economy came down in the apparel sector and the tourist sector had no jobs. We handled it in 2015, we handled it in 2019, just after the Easter bomb. So that way we will come up with the plans, and I'll be announcing it in the coming few weeks as the election begins.
We'll return after this short commercial break. Stay tuned.
කොරෝනා වෛරසය පැතිරීම වළක්වන්න සබන් යොදා දෑත් සෝදන්න.
Welcome back in more news. Sri Lanka's recovery rate surged to 70.59% today, recording the highest recovery percentage reported in the country to date. In the meantime, Deputy Director General of Public Health, Dr. Pabba Palihavarana, urged the public to continue to maintain a healthy lifestyle as a measure to prevent community-based transmissions.
The country's COVID-19 recovery rate rose to a new high of 70.59% today, while the overall number of recoveries were reported at 1,342. With the addition of 13 fresh COVID-19 infections confirmed today, the total number of active cases in the country was reported at 548. In the meantime, the total number of COVID-19 cases confirmed yesterday were 5, and all of them were identified as naval personnel undergoing quarantine at the Kalpitiya, Vidattapille and Oluvil facilities. Since the first COVID-19 infected Navy sailor was detected on the 22nd of April, a total of 890 naval personnel have been diagnosed with the COVID-19 virus. Meanwhile, 712 Navy personnel have recovered from the virus.
අපේ ආසන්නතම රටවල් වලත් මේ රෝගය ශීඝ්‍ර ලෙස පැතිර යන තත්වයක් තමයි අපි දකින්නේ. ඒ නිසා අපි තවදුරටත් මතක තියාගන්න ඕන මේ සෞඛ්‍ය ක්‍රමානුකූල දිවි පෙවත. දැන් මේ තනින් තන කෙල ගහන වගේ පුරුදු වලින් අපිට ඈත් වෙන්න වෙයි. අපි හොඳින් මතක තබා ගන්න ඕන. අපි කිසි විටකත් තව කෙනෙකුට මේ විස බීජය ඇතුල් වන්නට ඒ වගේම Tamanටත් ඇතුළු නොවන්නට වග බලා ගන්න.
Meanwhile, the Department of Posts has decided to discontinue the process of delivering clinical medicine from government hospitals and government pharmacies to members of the public from today. In a statement issued yesterday, Postmaster General Ranjit Aryaratha said that necessary action will be taken to develop a proper mechanism for this, as the health sector and consumers have made several requests for the continuation of this process. In other news, the botanical gardens and all national parks that had been closed due to the coronavirus pandemic opened again to the general public today. Accordingly, the Vilpattu National Park and the Royal Botanical Gardens in Peradeniya were also reopened today. The Devala National Zoo and the Pinnavala Elephant Orphanage were also open to the public while adhering to health and safety guidelines provided by the Ministry of Health. In the meantime, biological samples of 130 Sri Lankans repatriated from Pakistan today were obtained at the Bandaranaike International Airport. Meanwhile, 88 returnees from India who successfully completed quarantine at the Palvera facility were sent home today.
Galagodatti Gnanasara Thera gave evidence for the second day running at the Presidential Commission investigating the Easter Sunday attacks. Today, at the Commission, the Thera provided evidence of extremist ideologies continuing to be disseminated across the country through various organizations that he alleged were being supported by a key minister of the previous government.
General Secretary of the Bodu Balasena organization, Venerable Galagoda Atte Gnanasara Thera, testified for the second day at the Presidential Commission of Inquiry investigating the Easter Sunday attacks. The Thera stated that on 7th February 2020, he had received a letter from an individual named Mohammed, a member of the School Development Committee of Zaira College, Valigama, informing him of moves by the new principal of the school, MHM Inayatullah, who had invited an individual who had studied extremist ideologies at the Jamia Nalimia Madrasa to promote such extremist views at the school. Gnanasara Thera also informed the Presidential Commission that the National Front for Good Governance, which was instrumental in bringing about the victory of the Good Governance government in 2015, used the school for political activities. The Thera further stated that the majority of the members of the Jamayatul Ulema organization in the country are those who subscribe to extremist views of Jamaat Islam, Ihwan Muslim, Tawhid Jamaat and Tabligh Jamaat. The Thera explained to the Commission that a powerful minister of the then government had sourced the assistance of Middle Eastern countries to support the members of these groups in order to disseminate extreme views. When asked to identify the minister, the Thera said that since he could face imprisonment, such details cannot be made public and can only be given to the Presidential Commission in writing. Subsequently, the Commission obtained the name of the minister from the Thera in writing, with the Thera stating that the minister in question was named in the Vilpattu deforestation incidents. The Thera then brought to the attention of the Commission an interview given to a weekend newspaper on the 13th of November 2016 by Secretary of the Sri Lanka Tawhid Jamaat Organization, Abdul Razik, who is now the Secretary of the Ceylon Tawhid Jamaat Organization. The Thera also revealed that Abdul Razik was instrumental, along with Zaran Hashim, in creating a branch of the Sri Lanka Tawhid Jamaat Organization in Kathankudi. The Thera added that Abdul Razik was also instrumental in carrying out an underage marriage of Katupitiya bomber Mohammad Hastun, the Pulasini Mahendran, alias Sara. The Thera afterwards presented video footage of a demonstration led by Abdul Razik in Maligavatta, protesting a move by the government to change Muslim law regarding underage marriage. The video shows Abdul Razik at the forefront of the demonstration, shouting slogans which translate as "Sharia is our law" and "Give us our laws." In conclusion, the Thera stated that despite this, Abdul Razik continues to freely disseminate his extremist views in the country through the Ceylon Tawhid Jamaat organization.
Under a special amnesty program implemented by the Italian government, Sanatoria 2020, Sri Lankans in the country will be able to receive consulate services from the Embassy of Sri Lanka in Rome and the Consulate General Office in Milan to help in regularizing their visa status. The program was implemented on the 1st of June and will stay in effect until the 15th of July as part of the Italian government's Relaunch Italy development program.
The Embassy of Sri Lanka in Rome and the Consulate General Office in Milan have taken measures to provide services to over 10,000 Sri Lankans who would seek consular assistance in the process of regularizing their visa status under a special amnesty program, Sanatoria 2020, initiated by the Italian government. Through this program, Sri Lankans would be able to speed up the passport application process, while irregular migrant workers will also be able to apply for regularizing their visa status in Italy and obtain legal stay permits for work purposes. Sanatoria 2020 is a key part of the Italian government's Relaunch Italy development plan and went into effect on the 1st of June and will stay in effect until the 15th of July. The Sri Lankan missions in Rome and Milan have begun providing consular services and will ensure that applicants will be able to receive their passports within 10 working days after applications have been submitted to the embassy. Applicants are being called through an online appointment system with a special online mobile service for Sri Lankans in Sicily to also apply and regularize their visa status under the Sanatoria. The embassy is scheduled to receive applications for passports before 30th of June 2020 in order to ensure that all applicants will be issued with original passports to proceed with the regularization process during the amnesty period.
The law student who was behind the wheel at the time of the traffic collision which killed a police constable attached to the State Intelligence Service has been remanded until the 19th of June. The officer who succumbed to his injuries, one of the heroic police officers who foiled the recent 7.9 million rupee payroll heist at the National Hospital in Colombo. Meanwhile, according to the police headquarters, the police officer has been posthumously promoted to the rank of police sergeant with effect from yesterday. One of the two police officers who were hit by a jeep on Thursday night while on a motorcycle in Tummulla succumbed to his injuries yesterday. Situmdulita Yomal Alahapirma was the officer who lost his life in the incident, and he was one of the two constables attached to the State Intelligence Service who gave chase and prevented the recent robbery of 7.9 million rupees at the National Hospital in Colombo. He is the youngest of a family of two siblings from Valikanda in Polonnaruwa. The remains of the police officer were brought to his home in Polonnaruwa early this morning, and according to police headquarters, the officer was posthumously promoted to a police sergeant. The final rites of Sergeant Alahaperuma will be performed on Wednesday evening at the public cemetery in Ginidamana with police honours. The other police officer is currently receiving treatment at the Colombo National Hospital with serious injuries to his legs. The driver of the jeep has been identified as Tarinder Atwatta, a 24-year-old law student, and after being produced before the Colombo Magistrates Court, he was remanded until the 19th of this month. In your business news, Sri Lanka's gross official reserves were down by $715.92 million to $6.439 billion in May 2020 from $7.2 billion in April 2020, the latest central bank data shows. By the end of May, foreign currency reserves were $6.046 billion, while the reserve position in the IMF was $65.7 million. Reserves in gold stood at $372.7 million and other reserve assets were $1 million. During the year up to 12th June 2020, the Sri Lankan Rupee depreciated against the US dollar by 1.9%. Given the cross-currency exchange rate movements, the Sri Lankan Rupee appreciated against the pound sterling 2.5%. and the Indian rupee 4.8%, while depreciating against the euro 2.6% and the Japanese yen 3.5% rather during this period. Fitch Ratings has revised the national long-term ratings of 11 banks and non-bank financial institutions to reflect changes in the relative creditworthiness of Sri Lankan issuers following a recent downgrade of the sovereign rating.
Fitch Ratings has revised the national long-term ratings of Sri Lankan financial institutions following the recalibration of the agency's Sri Lankan National Rating Scale. The recalibration is to reflect changes in relative creditworthiness among Sri Lankan issuers following Fitch's downgrade of the sovereign rating to B negative from B negative on 24th April 2020. Fitch adds that this identifier is to reflect the unique nature of the Sri Lankan national scale and that the national ratings of the Sri Lankan banks consider their creditworthiness relative to other issuers in the country. The new ratings for banks are Commercial Bank of Ceylon PLC to AA+ from AA, Hatton National Bank PLC to AA+ from AA-, Sampath Bank PLC to AA- from A+, Ceylon Bank PLC to A from A-, Cargill's Bank Limited to A+ from A-, and Amana Bank PLC to BB+ from BB. Further, non-bank financial institutions revised are Serendip Finance Limited to AA- from A+, HNB Finance Limited to AA- from A, Siopatha Finance PLC to A from A-, Richard Peris Finance Limited to A- from BBB+, and Fintrex Finance Limited to B+ from B. The national ratings of Bank of Ceylon and People's Bank have been affirmed at AA+, but the outlook remains negative. The outlook on the national ratings of Commercial Bank and HNB are also negative. It added that the negative outlooks are aligned with the negative outlooks on both the sovereign rating and Sri Lanka's operating environment midpoint. Further, it says that they reflect Fitch's expectation of sovereign support, benefiting Bank of Ceylon and People's Bank's overall credit profiles, while commercial banks and HNB's ratings are constrained by the sovereign's credit profile. The outlook on Serendip Finance and HNB Finance reflect the negative outlook on the ratings of the respective parents, Commercial Bank and HNB, while the outlook on Sampath Bank, Ceylon Bank, Kyrgyz Bank, Amana Bank, Siapatha Finance, Richard Peris Finance and Fintech's Finance is stable.
Sri Lankan stocks ended 0.08% weaker at the end of today's market session. The old share price index fell 4 points to close at 4,910.8, while the S&P SL 20 index of liquid stocks was down 0.38% or 7.74 points to 2,047.22. Meanwhile, market turnover was 1.68 billion rupees, with 40 stocks gaining and 93 stocks falling. Here's a brief report of today's market performance.
Today again the market was broadly flat, down by only mere 4 points, similar to the last number of trading sessions. So over the last 5 trading sessions we've seen the market being broadly flat, the SPI moving between a very thin range. We saw 3 crossings in LOLC trading taking place today and a number of on-board transactions, some pretty large transactions as well, which boosted turnover for the day. So we saw a net foreign outflow of over 1 billion rupees today, one of the highest outflows we've seen in recent times, and bulk of that coming from LOLC itself, about 770 million. So significant high foreign participation mainly on the selling side we saw, while locals continued to be buyers for yet another trading session, and the buying interest had been significantly high. The banking counters again were higher in terms of turnover other than the LOLC transaction. Turnover levels has been very high, continuously trading above 1 billion mark for the past number of trading sessions, and today was no exception to that, increasing significantly above 1 billion.
The Sri Lankan rupee closed lower today at 185 rupees and 85 cents to 186 rupees, while bond yields eased marginally. However, the rupee closed at 185 rupees and 30 to 40 cents against the greenback last Friday. Let's have a look at how the rupee traded against other major currencies during the day today. More news on the other side of this break. Stay tuned. With that, we wrap up tonight's edition of First at 9. Thank you for joining. I'm Shanila Fernando.